Greetings, I'm Tieesha, back with another great video. Thank you everyone for being here. This is day 2 of Black History Month, and I thought it would be appropriate to bring our brother, Willie Cartwright, author author of From Saved to Sane. Has Christianity been detrimental to the African American community? Brother Willie, thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything to say? After the feedback from last week, everyone loved the conversation. The engagement was great. Do you have any feedback or follow up from last week?
No, I'm excited again to be here with you. Appreciate the opportunity, appreciate the conversation and the dialogue. We appreciate everything that happened last week and the feedback that we got and the participation from the people. So it was fantastic. Glad that we're able to do this again. Happy Black History Month. Of course, we have the shortest month of the year. So it's really the entire year is for
Yes.
us. And that's how we should start looking at it, the
Because
entire
we
year
Black 365 around
all the
here, all right?
time. So we're not gonna let people give us a day or a month. So we take it a whole year, every single day. So yeah, absolutely.
Negative. And with no disrespect to Dr. Carter G. Woodson, I actually have a great tidbit about him. I was reading about him today and yesterday. No disrespect to him because he established this great time before the modern distractions we have, such as the stupid bowl. I'm not watching it. I don't want to pick on those who do watch it, but for me and my experience is that it's a day where people just act stupid, DUIs, fights, cuss words, just acting a fool for no reason. I'm like, you're not a member of the team, nor are you an owner. So why are you, doing this?
Full disclaimer, I am a huge football fan.
And
Not
that's
of
all good. That is all good.
not of these teams, but I am a huge football fan. But I think as it is funny we talk about this because what's going on now, what just happened with the lawsuit that Brian Flores, who was the coach used to be the coach of the Miami Dolphins, that he's bringing against the NFL because the
Mm,
NFL is systematically racist, and I think
mm.
that's the nicest version, nicest way that we can put it. I think it's important that we think about this, even as a diehard football fan. I understand the bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
and it's you can enjoy the game, but in the back of my mind, I'm always looking at a football field that's 70-75% African Americans and ownership that's 99.9% white guys. The only there are 32 teams. 30 are outright owned by white men, old white men. One
Mm-hmm.
is owned by I think he's of Indian descent. He owned I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the Green Bay Packers are owned by a community, the community there. So which is all white for the most part. But yeah, I think that this is everything that we're talking about is connected. So yeah, Black History Month. A best way to start with Black History is by Brian Flores bringing a lawsuit against the NFL. Is a bigger picture. He's
Mm-hmm.
sacrificing a lot to do this because he probably won't get hired ever again. Great
Mm-hmm.
coach, but he sacrificed because he understands the bigger picture, which is maybe some of the stuff that we'll get into here today. The sacrifices that we have to make if we want to see our larger community do better. And I think in a sense, Tieesha, you and um, I know for me, when people ask me why I'm doing what I'm doing, I always tell them that it's a larger picture. I don't
Mm-hmm.
expect people in my generation to break away from Christianity for the most part, but I think what we're doing is creating a space so that people who come after us, especially African Americans, don't have to feel like they're obligated to follow this faith and this belief system, and that they can't ask questions and they can't challenge the belief system. So in a sense, obviously, it's nothing compared to what other people sacrifice. But I have in this on this journey, I've sacrificed friendships. I've
Mm-hmm.
sacrificed relationship with my mother before she passed on. I've again friends. So it's there's always some
Right.
sacrifice, and I knew this going in, so it's good. It's all good. So this is for a larger, this is for a bigger purpose. It's not just about my individual beliefs or non-beliefs. It's about creating that pathway, that road, that space, that area, so that other people that think like us and look like us can say, "Oh, there's a space for me." And so
Mhm.
that's why we're here doing this.
And thank you so much for saying that. And it's like I said, it's been great connecting with you. We've been years in this. And when I felt like I was the outsider, while everyone else that I was, starting YouTube with, they were doing, the advertiser friendly content and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? I think I want to talk about leaving religion. Like that's just something I want to talk about. It was in me to do it, and look at what has happened over the years. Like it has saved me from going insane, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to fake the funk.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I've embraced. I love being a Black woman. There is no, I don't know of any other experience, but my life improved once I acknowledged, accepted, and celebrated being a Black woman. I wasn't a Christian first. I wasn't any of this. Black woman first. And speaking of Black History Month, um, I found out today. Okay, I'm going to read this to y'all so I do not mess it up. But I learned something new, and it also ties us into today's conversation. And it was John Mercer Langston. He was the first African American lawyer when he passed the bar in 1858. And he was the first foundational Black American elected to public office in America, first ever. And he held the position of town clerk in a town called Brownham, Ohio in 1855. I'm from Ohio and I've never heard of Brownham. I've never heard of John Mercer Langston. Now he may sound familiar because he is a relative of who we know as Mr. Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes' full name is James Mercer Langston Hughes. That's his full name. He's named after his uncle, who we know as the poet, activist, the man of the Harlem Renaissance, where his works still live today. And he was born February 1st, 1901. And later, in his years, he actually worked with Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the author of The Miseducation of the Negro. And that was just so mind-boggling. So I'm like, oh my gosh, he also created Black History Month, And so I'm like, oh wow, like it's just the 6 degrees of separation was just amazing. And I had to go back. I actually dog-eared this page, and this was something that just stuck with me through years, or through the years, 4 years. But Dr. Woodson stated he was recounting a time when he was a coal miner in West Virginia. He says a few months ago in Huntington, West Virginia, where the author was being entertained by friends, the party was disturbed throughout the evening by the most insane outbursts of white worshipers in a church of God across the street. There they daily indulge in such whooping and screaming, known in unknown tongues, that the Negro had to report them to the police as a nuisance. And I'm going to end it there. So if you have the miseducation of the Negro, this is page 71 of this edition is 1998. This was the 10th printing, okay? And so that brings us to what we're going to discuss today. We had two titles for this video, but it was Faith, Family, and the Foundational Black American, but also too, we can tie in the second title is Christianity is religion becoming, history for Black people, because we know the beginnings of it, and we see that it hasn't really bared anything tangible for us today. So Brother Willie, I have you here, and I have your great work. I mean, I'm holding you same hand as the work of Dr. Woodson. I have
Oh,
your book right here.
oh, not even worthy of
and some
that. Wow.
some other
Awesome.
great works as well. Other great works, but you so elegantly in your book gave us the actual timeline and the route, the travel of Christianity, because those of us who have said, you know what, I don't want to partake in it anymore, I just want to be left alone, and then it was like, okay, this was a tool used to control, enslave, and keep our ancestors down. But then we're often presented with, well, Christianity came from Africa, we were the first ones. And so have you heard that? And what is your response to someone that says that, to someone who wants to leave this thing alone?
Yeah, I think the whole it's a couple of things. It's Christianity was founded in Africa or started in Africa, and then it's the Christianity, the Bible is about us being African Americans. And so what I said to that is, first of all, historically, let's take a look at it. Um, Christianity was actually founded in Judea, which is probably kind of mid what we would consider the Mid East, the Middle East, or parts of the Middle East. Is that part of Africa? Technically, yes. But when we talk about us and our ancestors, we are talking about sub-Saharan Africa, not the Middle East connected to Africa. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, you hear this, well, Africa was Christianity was in Africa before, we were slaves. The truth of the matter is that Africa, Christianity started started in Judea, like I said. It made its way to a couple of North African countries, just two or three, and then it made its way to Rome or whatever, and then it was redone, repackaged, and it came back here. But understand this: the ancestors of today's African Americans are mostly, if not all, from West and Central Africa. So none of those people, very few of those people, came into contact with Christianity prior to prior to the transatlantic slave trade. So the Portuguese were the first European country to introduce Christianity to Western and Central Africans, our ancestors. So this whole connection that's us and we're this is the story or whatever, that's not true from a historical standpoint, and you can track that and you can trace that. Now, the Bible being about us is a whole nother thing. There's a group of African Americans who believe that we are part of the 12 tribes of Judah, the lost tribes, and that we're the original Jews and all of that. Again, historically, if you do the research, there is nothing to that. There's nothing that says that is true and that is factual. Even if it was, us being tied to what we think is the Bible or characters in the Bible, it wouldn't make the Bible any more realistic or God any more real. And there's just no way to trace that. And so what we do know is that most of our ancestors, when I say us, I'm talking about us as African Americans here in this country, are from West and Central Africa. And what we do know as a fact is that Christianity was not introduced to those people in that part of Africa until slightly before, right around the 1500s, just before the transatlantic slave trade started. So we want to kind of get that out of the way. So yes, most of our ancestors were introduced to Christianity through the slave trade. And I think, Tieesha, we talked about this prior to this. A lot of them became Christian as a way of surviving. And we can get into that as we go on.
Absolutely. And I was trying to find my book where that came from, because I had it in writing and I wanted to share that book. I try to, follow up with where someone can find that. But
Let me
I remember.
let me add one last thing because I forgot. So let me go all the way back. So when I said that, when we said that Christianity was started in Judea, which is sort of the Middle East, which is connected to Africa, to the rest of Africa. Judea at the time that Christianity started was controlled by the Romans. So you can kind of look at that and take that for what it is. It was kind of controlled by the Romans. So that's a very important piece. That's a very important piece in that. So yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're talking about the book.
No, that's absolutely perfect, because there was someone who mentioned they were speaking sarcastically, but they were kind of saying like, look, why as Black people do you read and believe and build your life around this book that's talking to everybody but you, you know, Romans, you know, like that's, it's not for you. And it's like, okay, I get it. And it took, you know, scholars like Dr. Barashango to really like break down the Bible, but also too, you know, he still talked about Black people in the Bible, you know, as a whole African. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I got it. And how the Bible was used as a tool for empowerment. And so can you talk to us about how, you know, Christianity got to these shores, and you know how it was used against us, but also as a tool for empowerment, because that's one avenue that people go to as well. How can you, you know, throw away and discard the Bible when Nat Turner used it, Denmark Vesey used it? How can you do that and disrespect the ancestors?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people have to understand about you and I, that it's never our intention to disrespect the ancestors, or is it our intention to disrespect Christianity the way that we've came to know it? Also, remember this: Christianity. I don't care what you say about it in this founding. It is not indigenous to the African continent. It is not our original uh, religious or spiritual practice. It is not. Christianity has been around for roughly 3,000 years, 2,500 years, or whatever it is. The modern human Homo sapiens, we've been around for 250 to 300,000 years. We all know that civilization started in Africa, East Africa. So that's a huge gap of humans worshiping or being spiritual without even understanding or knowing or even hearing about Christianity. So again, Christianity is not native to sub-Saharan Africa. It is not what our people came from. It is not our original religion or spiritual practice. And again, so we obviously, so we got introduced to slavery, started with the transatlantic slave trade, getting here in the in this country and other island nations as well. It so we talk about that. Now remember, originally slave owners did not want us to read the Bible, or they did not want us to be Christians because they didn't believe that we had souls. They also understood that there were things in the Bible that we could use and gravitate toward. Also, the most important thing is that they felt that if we became Christians, that we would think that we were equal to them. So they held off a long time in making us become Christians. Not that we necessarily wanted to, but they had already stripped us of our spirituality, our faith, our religion from Africa, and they had separated us. So our ancestors started to combine what little they knew about Christianity and what they kept, what they were able to keep from their spirituality and their religious experiences back in Africa. Then eventually someone got the great idea that, you know what, there are scriptures in this Bible that we can use to control them. And so you get the whole slave Bible, which is basically the Bible with everything taken out that would help us. And then it was presented to us. Also remember that initially only white pastors or white preachers were allowed to preach to us, as was to preach to our ancestors. And then eventually they started giving that authority to a trusted slave preacher who would preach exactly what the master wanted them to say, which was stuff like obey your master, wait till you die to get your reward. This is part of your divine orchestrated position for you to be enslaved to us, so forth and so on. But again, people like Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner were able to read, at least enough to where they were able to find things in the Bible that encouraged them to fight back, and that was a problem for the slave owners, uh, obviously. So yeah, so it's both good and bad. Obviously, the slave holders used the Bible and certain parts of the Bible to enslave us, to keep us They also felt that making us Christians would also make us more manageable, more docile. Because again, it was about forgiving, turning the other cheek. This is how you're supposed to be. This is your lot in life. Accept your lot in life as the inferior human underneath us. In some cases, they didn't even believe that we were human. Again,
Mm-hmm.
it was never about us, A, being equal to them, B, going to heaven, because they didn't believe that we had soul. They thought that we were soulless. So you can't go to heaven if you don't have one, because what goes to heaven supposedly is your soul. So we just have to make sure that we understand that that this was not something that was necessarily good. What we did as African Americans, as we always have done, is that we've taken something that was meant to
Yeah.
harm us or something to be negative, and we've
Mm-hmm.
twisted it and made it something positive or something that can help us. And that's really what Christianity for us is really about. It's about taking
Yes.
something that was used to harm us, and we twisted and turned it, and then we've been able to use it to help us in a sense. But the question that you ask now is, has Christianity outlived its usefulness? Are we
Yes.
past the stage where we need the church, or we need the faith, or we need the religion to help us go? Now it's to the point, in my opinion, that it's becoming a hindrance to
Mm-hmm.
our further advancement, because it keeps us docile, because it keeps us from fighting back, because it tells us that our reward is in heaven, because it tells us instead of fighting, it tells us to pray. So all of these
Mm-hmm.
things, because it robs us of our resources, whether it be our natural resources, whether it be money, whether it be our talents, and takes those resources, and instead of us being able to make a living off those resources or use those resources to better our community, it's taking it and it's holding it. And at the end of the day, at least the financial resources are going to people who don't look like us, because our
Right.
pastors take our money from the church,
Mm-hmm.
and they take this money and they put it into majority white banks or white-owned banks or white-owned banking institutions. And then white people come and they get loans to open businesses, to buy houses, the same places, the same loans that we can't get as African Americans. But we give so much of our financial resources to the church. In return, the church gives it to these banking institutions that we're not able to access at the same level that non-African Americans are.
That sounds like a great topic for another video. The
Oh yeah.
business of ministry. Yes, the business of ministry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, as you were speaking about how to make a Negro Christian, that's what I was checking out that book, and like I said, I picked up this book a while back, and how we do, we have so many books, and you go through it with a reference, and you made a great suggestion to highlight different things that we're looking for, because I would start flipping. I'm like, where did I find it at? Where did I read it? But if you have the book, How to Make a Negro Christian, check out pages 14 and 15. Now, we are here in Georgia. However, it just made mention of someone named Reverend Dr. Charles Colcock. That's what it says, Jones. Okay. And on page 15, pretty much who he was a white slave owner who was a man of God. And so, just to jump down, congregations step up their appeals and refine their approaches to African Americans. Preachers and planters alike urge them to fill the galleries and special seating that was set aside for honored guests. Some owners were even motivated to build praise houses on their land and recruited Black preachers to proclaim the Lord's name, as long as, of course, a white foreman was present to monitor things so that they did not get out of hand. Large slaveholders like Reverend Charles Colcott Jones worked to comprise a Christian primer for slaves to instill teachings that were designed as a response to the importance of revolution and to serve as preventative measures to any insurrection. Insurrection sounds familiar. There
Yeah.
were many insurrections across, the East Coast, the West Indies. There were plenty. There were numerous. And when you say insurrection, the first thing that comes to mind is Prophet Nat Turner. If you watch Nate Parker's film, The Birth of a Nation, how Nat, he was literate and he was used, as long as he made the slave owner money by preaching the word, he was good. But as soon as he, really took the gospel and used it as a way to, empower his people, to fuel them to fight back. And I actually saw this copy of, it's supposedly Nat's Bible. It's up in DC. But as soon as he started using the word to empower himself, then it became a problem. And do you think that still goes on today, where the church, the black church, our faith, our religion, as soon as it makes that turn and begins to empower us to fight back, to empower ourselves, to become fearless, that's when it becomes a problem? Do you think that's where the trouble starts with, like, our families as well? Because as soon as they see us, like, no, I'm not going to get on my knees for anything, for anyone, I'm going to stand up. Do you think that's where the problems come from, and that line of deep demarcation, when you go from being a believer and the faithful to, the empowered, the revolutionary? What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think ironically, I don't think that today's churchgoers, believers, uh, even use the Bible to empower them, because I don't think that they're doing anything that's revolutionary. I think you
Yes,
still,
I'm sorry, Coach. I'll say I've been to church recently, and no one really carries a Bible. They don't even have the Bible sitting in the pews anymore. So
yeah,
right
I
now,
think for
church is mainly about taking a selfie and doing church flow, or something like that, or asking for prayers on Facebook. I don't think
yeah.
there's for
Yeah, I
real.
think if you look at the people who fight for change in any generation, is always the younger people. It's the younger people. Um, and so if we look at what's going on today, about 30% of people under 30 are what we call nuns or non-believers. So this is the first time in our history that a revolution, so to speak, or fight for change is not being led by the church for the most part. There obviously are some ministers and some preachers, some churches that do, but if you look at the crowd of young people and you take the poll, most of those people, a lot of those people don't go to church, are not believers. So they found empowerment outside of the church, where those who are still in the church are still going about it the old fashioned way. Let's pray about it. Let's let Jesus handle it. Let's let God handle it. And there's always exceptions to the rule. But if you really look at the young people that are doing it, they are more non-religious, non-believers than we've ever had before. And I think I might even mention this in the book. I said this is the first time that we've had this kind of revolution led by a lot of non-believers, and I'm thankful for it. But not that the church hasn't played its part, and they have. The church has been instrumental in our progress, whether it be providing a meeting place, providing a lot of our leaders, great civil rights leaders. And so we're
Deacons for
always
defense.
Yep, yeah, exactly. So we're always thankful for that. But I also like to add that there has been a lot of what you guys would call non-believers, atheists, humanists that has also been part of the fight. There's a lot of people. There's a book, and I'll show it here. Give my man a shout out, Christopher Cameron.
Okay.
I think he's a professor, but the name of the book is called Black Free Thinkers. And in this
Okay.
book, he talk about um, countless uh, famous African Americans that was instrumental in the civil rights struggle, going all the way back, and that they were non-believers or atheists or secularists, if you would. And so this is a very interesting book. So that lets you know that everybody has not always been on board with being a Christian or a believer, and that these people also contributed to society.
That is amazing. I'm actually headed over to put the link in the chat now. That is amazing. And can you tell us who are some of the free thinkers named in the book while I get this
Yeah,
link really quick?
he talks about W.E.B. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass. A. Philip Randolph, pretty much everybody associated with the Black Panthers. What is his name? The author, Hansberry. I cannot remember her name. There's a couple of other authors in
Mhm.
here. James Baldwin is another one. Um, there are some current people, but those are some of the ones he talk about. So you'll be surprised if we did the research because remember, these people, they did not openly come out and say that they were non-believers,
Mhm.
because it was, it could mean totally being ostracized from your family, from your community. In some cases, you could get into a lot of trouble by saying
Mhm.
that you were numb, or admitting that you were a non-believer. So yeah, so this is just a great book to pick up for those of you who are on your journey. You have questions, but you want to know, how far back. Just to let you know, there have been Black non-believers and free thinkers,
Good.
which I think is a better title for us. Free
Yeah.
thinkers, all the way from the beginning of time. Because think about this: even if you think about during slavery time, there were enough Africans who were smart enough to say, "Why am I converting to a faith that they're beating me every day, or they're
Mhm.
raping me every day, or they're taking my family from me every day, but yet they profess to be part of this faith." Now, I think there were more of our ancestors that thought that, but you and I talked about this. A lot of them still ended up converting out of survival, because
Right.
their life was made better if they converted.
Mhm.
Even to the point where if they didn't convert, they may have been physically harmed or even killed. So it was a matter of survival for a lot of them who converted um,
Mhm.
as well.
We had one question come in from D Cheney T, and I'm going to switch screens so that I can pull up so that everyone can read with us. Share screen. There we go. There we go. All right, Brother Cartwright, are you familiar with this information?
What is it, Dom? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
Dom Diversis, if I'm pronouncing that correct.
yeah,
This
it
is
looks
new
like
to me.
he
It's been
was.
a while since I had
Yeah, it
my
looks like he was
my
part
course.
of that. He was a pope, but I'm not that familiar with him. The person that asked the question, do you have a comment about that, or something that we should know? Because
Yes,
this is about all of us learning as well. So I'm
absolutely. I have it here on the share screen tab. So let's see. These papal bulls provided the foundation for the justification of the removal of Caddo and Cherokee Indians from the Tyler Smith County area, inspired the transatlantic slave trade, which led to the dreams of a perpetual slave economy in the new Southern Empire, and also fueled illegal settlements and war, which led to the colonization of the West lands of Louisiana.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay. So, yes,
So
this is definitely something new that we definitely have to dive into because, like I said, we are learning together. So far from what I'm seeing, and I'm coming from tylerhistory.org.
yeah.
I'll copy the link where I'm reading this from.
So
Um,
I think with this, generally what we kind of touched on this without
mhm,
getting really into the specifics of it, but Portugal, which is, as I said before, were one of the first, if not the first, European country to come into Africa, introduce Christianity, and participate or start the transatlantic slave trade. This
mhm.
is all. This was all connected. Also,
Oh,
let let
wow.
us
This is
let
new.
us let us
Thank you,
remember
thank you, thank you.
that let us remember that actually before Christianity was
Mhm,
introduced to us, Islam, that they were the first to actually enslave our people through
mhm.
Islam, the people of the Islamic faith. So we don't want to let them off the hook. I talk about
Yes.
Christianity
'Cause
because I
yes,
spent
that's
40 plus years as a
another,
Christian.
faith belief system, religion in our Black community here in America. That's also, and that's like a pathway. Some people who were in Christianity, they'll leave and go to Islam, or they'll leave and go somewhere else. So it's part of that flow chart, that progression of those who leave. So what do you have for like Islam? And I know that you included that in your book. You include a timeline of different events, around Islam that have occurred around the world, where people took it to the level of extremism.
Yeah. So we see Islam, and many of us don't notice because a lot of us, the majority of us in this country, are Christians.
Hmm.
But of course, Islam and Judaism are all part of the same umbrella, the Abrahamic God. But what we don't understand is that people who practice Islam were the first to enslave our people in Africa on the continent. But as you talked about the whole progress, and I went through the progression as well. Initially, even way before, I mean, 20, 30 years ago in college, when I first became kind of discontented with Christianity, and those of you out there know it wasn't church hurt. It was just kind of feeling that this wasn't for me. The first place I turned was to Islam. I knew a couple of brothers in college who were Muslims or part of the faith. I was kind of, I would say infatuated, but I watched a lot of Louis Farrakhan stuff at the time. He was, younger, but I watched a lot of that stuff. And so I remember telling my mom that, and again, I talk about this in the book too. I remember telling my mom that I was going to convert. Again, my mother was devout, so I told her I was going to convert to. I came home one day from school and said, "Well, I'm going to convert to Islam," and she kind of looked at me and in jest, she said to me, "Well, they don't eat ham." And at the time, ham was my favorite food. But I said that in a funny way. But back to your point is that a lot of African Americans, we kind of say, okay, Christianity is not right for me, so let me look at Islam. And Islam has some very, very things, really great things that would make you feel like that is for you. And I'm not saying that it's not. It's very empowering. They teach you about yourself and Black history and empower you. I love that part of it. I love the way they teach our young men and our young women how to act. I love all of that. I even said, and I think I might have mentioned this. My wife, she was actually born into the Muslim faith.
Wow.
That's where she got her name from, and she stayed part of the Muslim faith until she was about 19 or 20 years old. And we've had conversations. And I always said to her that if we ever did have kids, which we're not gonna have kids now, we don't have kids, but if we back then we talked about having kids, I would be opposed to sending my kids to a Muslim school only because of the discipline and some of the other stuff. Now, this was prior to me leaving Christianity altogether, but it's still something that's very interesting and inviting about the faith to you. So you see a lot of African American men that go to jail and then they convert and become
Yeah.
Muslim or whatever. You see that a lot. So there's a lot of things that is empowering. It's prideful. It's and not prideful in a bad way, not boastful, but pride. It instills pride in you. It teaches you how to act and carry yourself. All that, and I love all of that. But we also, like anything else, I don't care what organization you're part of, we need to understand the history of that organization. And that helps us to better make our decision. I'm not saying that Islam or Christianity, for that matter, is a bad decision. I'm
No.
just saying if we're going to be part of anything, I'm part of a fraternity, I'm part of another organization that's very popular. But I had to understand the history of those organizations. What's really peculiar about that is that I joined one organization, um, and I didn't know a lot about it. I did it at the age 17, 18 years old because everybody else around me was doing it. Uh,
Yeah.
and then I became part of a fraternity. I knew everything I pretty much needed to know about the fraternity before I got in or during the whole process. But as I got older, I found out things about this other organization that I was a part of. And now I'm no longer, I don't consider myself a part of this particular organization because of things I found out later. So the same thing with religion. What I tell our people is just study. A young man I've been debating with on Facebook, I'm telling him about certain books in the Bible, certain atrocities, things that happen.
Right.
And here he is trying to defend the Bible, but has absolutely no clue about the things that I'm talking about. So I said to him, I said, it's sad that you're trying to defend your faith, but you know very little about it. I think we said
Right.
this last week. African-American Christians know little, know the least amount about their faith than any other denomination, any other group of people. And so if you're going to be part of an organization, or in this case, of religion or faith, you need to understand your faith and your history and your belief and your faith from the beginning. And in my
Mhm.
book, we talk about I highlight some of the history of that as well.
That is amazing. And really quick, to those who are new to this channel, or if you're just now joining us, I'm here with Brother Willie Cartwright, author of From Saved to Sane. I really love that. Like, I hashtag that all the time. From Saved to Sane, my journey away from Christianity. And tonight we're talking about the history of Christianity, and also a lot of the misconceptions and different like guilt trips that we're put on when we try to, leave the faith, but also when we challenge it with facts over feelings. And that's one thing that I noticed with those who, want to guilt us into the faith, and they want to hold on to it with everything. They think that their feelings change facts. And really quick, I want to come from one of our master teachers, Dr. Ben, and his book, The Need for a Black Bible. Shout out to Brother Righteous. He suggested I pick this up. This was one of the first books I read once I came out of Christianity. It was back in 2014. This book has traveled with me from the East Coast to the islands, all the way back to Georgia. I love this book. And
Hold on, I'm sorry. Before you read it,
go right ahead.
can you take the screen out, because we're
Sure,
still.
I apologize.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I just
There
want.
we
Okay,
go.
here we go.
Stop
Yeah,
sharing. There we go.
my
So
eyes
yes,
are bad, so I was squinting trying to see.
no problem. I'm trying to like fake the funk. My readers are somewhere and I can't find them. Yeah, I have glasses that have medicine in them. Yeah, I'm at that age now.
I got contacts
God
and
hasn't
readers.
healed my vision,
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah, exactly.
science has. But on page, actually in the very beginning, in the pre-word, he ties in what you were saying about Islam. He says, where are we at? Okay. They wait because they cannot free themselves from their presently enslaved mentality, which Judeo-Christian magic led them into. This, of course, is no worse than the enslavement of their fellow Africans suffered under Islam hundreds of years before the Europeans superseded Arab slavery in all of the North, Northwest, East, Northeast, and Central Africa. The picture below represents the lowest ebb next to the only mental and physical death to which any human being can sink, a slave down on its knees praying to his slave master's godhead. And even the European and the European American slave makers' God must have detested this form of mental masturbation, because, and spiritual jump off the nations so that YouTube doesn't block this. A slave believing that his master's God would go against his master's interest, his property, which is the slave himself. It's insanity. It's insanity. So that
It is
ties all. I
asinine.
highly should suggest y'all go pick this up. The Need for a Black Bible by Dr. Ben. Okay, please go pick this up.
Pick that up. Absolutely. Yeah, it is asinine, and it is, like you said, it is insane. Before, D. Cheney, thank you. He said this document was the
Yes.
basis of the South and North American continent conquest. I am
Wow.
definitely going to pick that up and do my research on that. Thank you so much for that
Yes,
information.
this is
Thank you.
absolutely outstanding. So
Um,
thank you.
so I used to
El
always.
Cortez, thank you. And we have Will
Oh,
Cashgrow. Also look up. I'm sorry, it jumped. My story jumped. I
yeah.
just
I
lost
think
it.
I see. It said also look up. I being a rabbi and Mohammedism.
Okay,
Mohammedanism. Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, but got you.
Yes.
Thank you,
I'll
Will.
go ahead and pull that up.
so I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so we were talking. I used to often say, if when I ask Christians about slavery, and this is a real stickler for me, I said, we spent all these years us praying to the same God, the oppressed praying to the same God of the oppressor. Ask yourself, who prayers did this God answer? And it's apparent that he answered the prayers of the oppressor, because our people stayed oppressed for all of those years. And even though
Mm-hmm.
we're not physically oppressed, at least most of us, because remember, prison is an oppression. Prison is what replaced slavery. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
read in the documents, they outlawed slavery with the exception of imprisonment. And so that's a whole nother story topic that we can get on.
The
So
13th Amendment.
I think it's
13th,
yeah, I
right?
think so. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at that, you got slaves and slave owners praying to the same to this God, but yet you're still as the slave still suffering underneath this God. But yeah, and so it's just again, one of the things that I try to keep in mind that I was I was once where a lot of Black Christians are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try not to be as critical, but the further I get away, the more I read, the more I listen to stuff like this and you and other people. It's almost embarrassing
Yes.
that I didn't come out sooner, or that I didn't see this sooner. But that's just
Mm-hmm.
but that attests to the power of the indoctrination. And for us, it's not just going to church getting it, it's getting it in your home, getting it at your grandmother's house, getting it at your auntie's house, getting it at school. Because I grew up, I'm a lot older. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but I'm older than you, Tieesha. And I grew up in the South. So it was in
Yeah.
everything that we did, everything. Even when you didn't know you were being indoctrinated, you was being indoctrinated. So it just and so I guess now you really have to give kudos to people like us that was once part of it, but have been
Mm-hmm.
able to come out of it, because it is a strong, strong drug. It is a strong drug. Um, but yeah, so what is Will saying? Say you have to look outside of it to see the truth, the historical origins of those. Absolutely, absolutely, Will. We I think I told the story of when my wife and I left the church,
Mm-hmm.
and things start happening. We start having some issues, not marital, but health issues and financial, some other stuff. And through the whole time, my mother-in-law, my sister, and one of my friend, one of my mentors, who was a preacher, who was a absolutely fantastic guy. He married us. He's a mentor. He is. If every Christian was like him, uh, I would at least have a lot more respect for Christianity. But anyway, they all were, praying for us to come back and telling us that this was happening to us because we had left the covering of God and all this other kind of stuff. So my wife and I, for an instant, said, "Well, let's maybe we should go back." But we tried to go back. We physically went, but as we sat there in the audience and listened to the pastor with this, we just couldn't do it. We both looked at each other and literally
Right.
just like, we can't do this anymore. So once you learn, once you understand outside of it, once you stand outside of
Mm-hmm.
the forest, you're able to see the trees. Once you take the toothpaste out of the tube, it is no going back. You can't put it back.
Right.
You can't. It's just you can't. None of it makes sense to us anymore. We're not blind to it. So yeah, absolutely. So
You,
Papa
you you brought up
Soul.
a great point too, because like I said, when I went back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really just spent 2 hours doing this. Like, okay, stand up, sit down, and listen to this. And you know, right now I've noticed that when I was filming my short film, They Evil, I drove past a church in Macon, Georgia, and on the front like marquee, it said something about, we are doing online or virtual services. Then on the next screen, vote. I'm like, no, what in the heck that got to do with church, So and then when I actually went to church, they had church fans with candidates on it. I remember coming up, they'll have like the praying hands on the church fans, or, you know, the local funeral home, but they were actual church fans with political candidates. I'm like, wow, okay, so the church is just used as a stopping point on your campaign trail. And I was like, okay, well, already
Yeah.
I think a certain way, and this is just not the community that I belong to. I've noticed that now the church is mainly used as like a community. You know, this is like a social club. They're there to drive memberships. They're there to, you know, qualify for grants. You know, I figure, hey, you're getting grants. I shouldn't have to pay, you know, offerings and stuff if you're receiving grants. That's just my thing. It's all still tax-free funds, okay? But yeah, I don't see anything beneficial. It's just a meeting ground, a community, a social club, you know, say hi, bye, how you doing, and then go on about your business.
Yeah, I
Like,
think for us as African Americans, especially, it is a social event because we're a very social people. But yeah, like you said, so it's, you know, first of all, we're supposed to have separation of church and state, so none of that stuff is supposed to be going on. But because so many of our leaders are believers, also people have realized that the one place that you can get uh, a group of us together in a space who tend to be voters is the church. There's no other place that you're going to find that many African Americans in a given time period, in a given space, in a given. So that it makes sense that they will stop there and they will uh, uh, speak to us in order to get our votes. Again, you're supposed to have separation of church and state. We just completely passed. I mean, I've been to churches where they flat out said, "This is the candidate that you should vote for," or I've seen where the pastor literally works for this particular candidate, like he's part of this particular candidate's
wow.
spiritual advisory committee, or you know, have done work for him. So yeah, so they just come. But at the end of the day, if there are no repercussions for people who break the law, then people are going to continue to do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're not, you know, people are not in any hurry to penalize people who are like them or who are doing the same things that they're doing. So yeah, somebody was TS175 said, "Can the host describe their spiritual beliefs now, if y'all don't mind?" Oh, cool. I'll let you
Great
go. You want to
question.
go first, Ice? Or you want me to go first? You
Um,
go.
I'm gonna say it like this. When I first came out of Christianity, I have that video here on my channel. I went through these different stages. You know, at first I was completely calm with it. As long as nobody bothered me, I was cool. Like, hey, you know, I left. Right now, I think I describe myself as I was just exploring, you know, everything that I was told was evil and demonic. I went ahead and, you know, I immersed myself in it. And so with that, you know, I built a religious tolerance. You know, I didn't shun anyone else because they did not have the same belief system as mine. Then I went to Buddhism. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and of course, up in Kaneohe, they have the Byodo in temple. So I spent some time up there, and that was, you know, quite an experience. It definitely opened me up to, you know, a lot of other things, which eventually led down the path of like this spiritual, you know, journey of this. Okay, I'm gonna have crystals, and you know, I'm gonna, you know, have tarot cards. I'm going to do this. I just explored a whole bunch of stuff. And shout out Miss Cleo. Y'all remember I did the parody for that.
Yeah, I remember.
That was
I
fun.
remember that. Yeah.
That was fun. And then eventually I started researching belief systems, you know, the earliest belief systems that I could find here in Americas. And I think that's where I'm at now. The more and more I track my family's migration and where they came from are areas, the paper trail, word of mouth, even some of our customs and things like that. I'm at a place right now where I'm kind of religionless, religion free, and I just kind of I lead my life based on principles and morals. But ultimately, the first one is, Black empowerment, our beautiful Black heritage, and just, teaching myself that. And, in my day to day, I try to project Black excellence because, um, actually, it was Dr. Carter G. Woodson. One of his quotes was, Black contributions were overlooked, ignored, and even suppressed by writers of history, textbooks, teachers, and those who use them. That's his quote loosely. So what this journey of leaving Christianity has done has just led me to Black exploration, highlighting our contributions, our achievement, also our liberation movement, and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm at now. It's me and Christianity and religion. It's like a bad breakup. I think I'm gonna take some time off to find myself. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
So we're kind of similar in that. Uh I'm not a I'm not big on titles or labels, but I understand being in this space, you kind of almost have to. My wife hates labels and titles. Uh like you, I think I went through the phases. I left, I kind of became angry. I wanted everybody to know that Christianity wasn't the answer and that we had all been fooled. And so I went through all of that. And I was told by non-believers that I was going to go through those phases, and I was like, nah, but I kind of did. I kind of did. Now I am very at peace, calm with understanding that I'm on a journey, a personal journey. Like you, it's opened me up to. I've been able to. I kind of already knew about a lot of other religions because I have friends who were Hindu and Sikh and Muslim, and I knew a Wiccan, witch, voodoo, all of it. But being on this journey has enabled me to really dig deep into a lot of those and explore and be, like you said, be a lot more open. So I'm extremely open to anybody religious belief, whether they are naturalists. I don't care what it is. If it works for you, then it works. My wife has embraced Buddhism, um, almost to the point where she's probably considering going like full-fledged Buddhist. And I think it's great. For those of you who are watching, Buddhism is actually not a religion; it's more a philosophy of life. So it's comparable. It can be combined with whatever you believe or don't believe. But I respect the Buddhists and the philosophy and a lot of the things that they talk about. So I'm good with that. But for me, I would consider myself more agnostic. And the way I define that is, uh, I don't believe in any of the personal deities that we've existed. That includes the Abrahamic God. That includes all of them. But I also leave open the possibilities that there is something out there, that it could be something out there beyond us. Now, you could call it God, you could call it supernatural, you can call it, we might not even have the correct name for it. But I leave open that possibility. But as of now, I don't believe in any personal deity. I don't believe in the Abrahamic God. I don't believe in Jesus' divinity. Anything else that people come up with, the 1,000 or 10,000 gods that we've had as a human race. So that's kind of where I am. And then finally, kind of like you, Tieesha, I am really into exploring our history as African Americans, our connection with the continent. I want to know what my ancestors, what they worship, what they did, their spirituality. I want to know everything about them. We did a DNA ancestry, and we were extremely happy. We fight. We kind of fight. My wife and I. She ended up being, initially she was 87% African. I was 86%. But then they go back and say, well, we found this out, and now, so I think we both kind of like 87%. But we were extremely proud of that. We didn't even care about whatever else was it European or Asian. Ironically, we have family members. My wife had family members who did the same thing, right?
Wow.
They were more excited about the European side
Mm.
than they were the African side. And we kind of looked and
Wow.
scratched our head like, really? So we were very excited that we wanted to be 100%, but that's not possible. So yeah, so we have
Wow.
been to the continent. We've been to South Africa, which I call kind of Africa light. If I think your first trip, South Africa is a good. There's a lot of history, but it's pretty. It's kind of Americanized.
Mhm.
But our next trip is going to be to another one of the other countries to really get
Okay.
engrossed in it. But yeah, so that's me. I'm really about. I want to find out more about my people because you can almost every white person I talk to, they can tell you where their people are from.
Right.
Yeah, I'm,
Mhm.
I'm American, but my father is Irish and my mother is from Greece, or my father is from Spain and my mother's from
Mhm.
France. So we can't, you can't. It's very seldom that you meet an African American that says, my ancestors are from Nigeria. That
Right.
they really know that. So when we did our DNA ancestry. Now I know where my ancestors are from, what part of West Africa they're from. So yeah, absolutely. So that's where I am. Let's see, exactly. It's a spinoff from Hinduism. Yeah, yeah. The Tao is similar to Buddhism. Absolutely, very good life principles to follow. Just do them alone and not as an organization. You'll find yourself right back in church. That's good.
Yep.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I've been to a couple of spots early on with my wife when we first got into Buddhism. When she kind of stayed. I kind of went a couple of times because I wanted to know about it, learn about some of the traditions or whatever. But after
Mhm.
that, I was like, this is getting real close to church for me. So I I had to bag out. But yeah,
One thing I
uh,
notice is like with this journey, I keep my belief system close to me. I don't wear it on a t-shirt. I don't,
I don't
you
either.
know, like I'm in a contest to show that I'm holier than thou. I see that your faith, your religion to me and my observations is that it can be used against you. And I'm like, I'm not gonna give somebody the cheat sheet, to get over on me. So I'm going to keep it close. I notice other people don't bring God into a business meeting. Some people do. It's their business motto, but many people don't lead their life with their religion up front. They're presenting themselves in, the most bland manner. They say as least as possible, and their religion is what they do outside of everything else, and that's just it. I think that as a Black woman, I'm expected to wear my faith, out in the open, and I think it should be something held private.
And I was just about to comment on that. And then that's a
Mhm.
question here. That's a great question. But let me add to what
Yes.
you're saying. So I was going to say that's true with the exception of us, and you
Mhm.
touched on that at the end. So always said is that African Americans, we live our life through the prisms of religion and Christianity. Everything that we do. Good morning. How you doing? God is great.
Mhm.
Will I see you tomorrow? God willing. I just bought a new car. Oh, such a
Praise the
blessing.
Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Blessings on blessings.
What's the first thing you wanted to make? Oh, you got to be God fearing. But we're the
Yep.
only people that really do that because other people, like you said, they don't lead with that,
Mhm.
and that's our whole. That's a problem because to me, that's us devaluing ourselves. We don't
Mhm.
believe in our own self worth because everything has to be about something
It's him through
external to
me.
us. Exactly. It's got to be something external to us. It can't
Mhm.
be about us. Something, oh, you're too humble, or you're too braggadocious, you're too whatever. And so that creates a problem. So yeah, I'm with you. You're right. So I'm like you. I don't even make it an issue, but you can run into people. The first question, what's your name? Second question, what church you go to?
Mhm.
So that's you like that ain't I don't care. That ain't what we're talking about. But
Right.
I don't know if you see these questions, but this question's
Yes.
TS 175. Do y'all believe in or have a connection with a higher spiritual power? That's a very interesting question. Tieesha, you want
That's
to?
I'll go first, but real quick, D Cheney T, if you can click the link where I put in here to ask us a question, click that link. It will just bring you up backstage, and then you'll see a tab to send me a private chat. If you can send me your email address, and contact me, or I will contact you on email. Do that real quick because you really contributed something valuable. I really appreciate that, and I want to say thank you. Um, do y'all believe I have a connection with a higher spiritual power? Now, when I came out of religion, there was an organization I was in, and one of the requirements, you don't have to have a particular, deity or being that you pray to or use a certain term. You can use God, creator, whatever you please, but you have to confess you have a belief in a higher being. And I thought that was a great alternative because, once I came out of religion, I did not want to say God and things like that. But, to keep the peace with everybody, I'm like, okay, yes, I do. I believe in something just to keep the peace. I would say, like, right now, my main focus is, my ancestors. That's who created me. My parents are still here. And then, there's additional parents that created them. So I go back to the belief in my ancestors. I believe, something created everything. But something created that, begat that, all that stuff. But then we're going back into the book. I just appreciate this life. I appreciate this world and the different beautiful creations and things around. So I don't know if that gives you a direct answer. I would say I'm still on a path of exploration, but yeah, I believe in, what I can prove and I can see and touch.
So for me, my wife believes in something, a higher power. We don't call it. She don't call it God. She definitely doesn't believe in the Abrahamic God, but she does believe in something beyond us. So as far as me, again, I leave open that there is something out there, something metaphysical or beyond us.
Mhm.
Um, I don't waste a lot of energy
Mhm.
thinking about it or being consumed about it because I don't know if it has. I don't think that has anything to do with our daily life, and if it does, it's still something that you cannot control and have anything to deal with. So right now, it could be something out there, but I don't waste a lot of time worrying about it. I just
Yeah.
worry about the things I can control, and if so I guess for the answer, probably at this point, no,
Mhm.
not right now.
Yeah.
Who said? Are you? Oh, are you familiar with
Oh my
brother Jeremiah
gosh.
Camaro's journey away from Christianity?
Where is my
Yeah,
book?
brother, he is. I quote him in my book.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm gonna have to walk away to go grab Holy Lockdown. Oh my gosh. I
He
haven't
and
been
I
up
just
that
so
in a
I
year.
started this journey. Oh
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
So I had a friend of mine who knew what I was doing. She used to work for me. She was kind of a mentee, and I actually one day she came to me at a job. She was working for me as one of my agents, and she said to me, she said, I have this passion to do something, and I was like, listen, you're my best salesperson. But if you have a passion for something that you want to do that's going to make a difference and change, then by all means, get up out of here, go. I'm good because eventually I'm gonna find the same passion. And so she left. Now she's doing fantastic work in the non-for-profit. She's over in Africa doing helping African people start businesses and do the land or whatever. But anyway, she knew what I was doing, so we stayed connected. She knew what I was doing, and she called me one day. She said, "Listen, I got this guy that you need to meet." And I had already been familiar with Jeremiah. I had been listening to his stuff on the internet and reading some of his stuff. But his slave sermons are like the bomb, right? So I had just said to my wife, and when she asked, I said, "This bet not be Jeremiah Camaro." She said, "How you know?" So that's exactly what it is. So she connected us. I reached out to the brother. He said, "I usually don't get out and meet people because he travels, he speaks, and he's had some really negative stuff happen, some death threats. His wife is not comfortable with him always going out and meet people that he don't know. But he agreed to meet me, so we met for lunch. I learned a lot from this brother. I use a quote in his book, the quote about Jesus being white because he's white in Walmart. I attribute that to him. I just texted the brother 2 days ago because I sent him a copy of the book. He told me he got it and he's in the process of reading it. Great brother. This brother's doing fantastic work. He is, if you don't know, if you never heard of the foundation, the Foundation for the Freedom of Religion. He is a board member. Him and his wife are new board members. I think might be the only African Americans that's on that board. But yeah, absolutely. He is a great brother. He's here in Georgia. Holy Lockdown. What's the other one?
Holy
Contradiction.
Lockdown. I have this one, and if you
And
go to
contradiction.
Amazon, you can watch
Contradiction.
Contradiction for free on Amazon Prime, and then his
Yep.
other documentary up there, Holy Holy Hierarchy. Actually, I can just go
Yep.
ahead and pull those up.
Yeah.
Oh my,
We said it watch.
life
I think we watched
freaking
them one
changing.
night. Oh, it is.
I
It is. It is. And this
I
brother is
think
a
we
great
should
brother.
try to connect with him to
We
interview him.
should.
I see. I'm just this little tiny YouTuber, so I think I might have to leave it up to you, brother Willie, to go ahead and do that because I'm just like this little teeny tiny YouTuber.
I'm gonna text him tomorrow and see if he's interested in coming
Yes,
on.
that would
Absolutely.
be absolutely great because
Yeah.
oh man, his work just confirmed, and he's also from Cincinnati, like me. Then made his way down here to Georgia, and he just goes hard. Like
Oh, he goes hard.
I
Check out
think
his slave sermon series. Go.
slave sermons. Oh my gosh, when
I've watched every last one of them.
actually, I mean, just for information purposes, I'll pull up one.
I mean, they're short. They're 2, 3, 5 minutes at the most, but it give you a lot of information, stuff that you might not know. I think he probably got about 200. I've listened to maybe 150 of them.
Yes,
Yeah, he's incredible. Really, really good dude.
I
Really
want to
good guy.
share. Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't know you was from Cincinnati originally. I don't know why I kept thinking you were originally from Seattle, but you're from Cincinnati.
Oh heck to the no.
So you
That's
should be watching the Super Bowl, even though you said you don't care. That's your team.
let me tell you something. Growing up in Cincinnati, all right, the Bengals all the time, they lost all the time. So you would
Yeah.
see like some place was giving out free Bengals jerseys to like homeless people. They were always
Really?
on clearance at TJ Maxx, you know. And then in the city, Paul Brown Stadium was built around the time I was in high school. And so in the city, they're like, why are they building the stadium? All they do was lose. And, and then the Reds got their stadium. Um, I just, that's just not my thing. I'm good. I'm good. And
Okay.
then with a lot of stuff happening in Cincinnati, it's like people just ignore all that. Then all of a sudden, like, okay, hey, we have the Super Bowl. But I'm like, this is about to get go from bad to worse because right now already people are getting pushed out of the city due to gentrification. I'm like, okay,
Yep.
now that they can say like, hey, this team has went to the Super Bowl, and then people are
Yep.
now going to want to start coming to Cincy. Everything is going to be Airbnb'd out. Local folk fam, y'all really gonna start getting pushed out. So I don't see it as a good thing. That's just me. I have
Yeah.
nothing to celebrate.
No, it happens in all these cities. I mean,
Mhm.
even here in Atlanta, when they built the dome downtown, they pushed a lot of people out. I think, as a matter of fact, I think they ended up buying the land of a couple of large churches out there as well. So
Yes.
so they did all that. But yeah, but Jeremiah Camara, absolutely great brother. He's been influential to me. I look like you, Tieesha, about my stuff. I looked up his stuff to help me, to make sure that I was, that to give me kind of strength. Absolutely.
Yes, I'm gonna copy and paste a link to his channel. Like if you want something to turn on and listen, like I've listened to his videos as I was driving across country. You just in the car, like, yes, you just confirmed it. That's right, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so yeah, his story is extremely interesting, but he is a good brother. Like I said,
Yes.
I'm gonna text him tomorrow and see if he's available to come on
It
and do this
would be
podcast.
great. So in the
It'd be awesome.
meantime, we're gonna have a little bit of homework. Let's try to watch Contradiction and Holy Hierarchy within like the next week so that we are prepared and we can discuss it next week. And yeah,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. This book right here, now you mentioned Seattle. I read this on the ferry. I was on the ferry reading it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I did a review, but I don't think that I gave it its proper credit because I feel as though like other people like, yeah, do you know this as well? Like it's life changing. I can't find the words for it right now, but yes, brother Jeremiah Kamar, we have to definitely get him over here, introduce him to a lot of people, and he is definitely a great resource because to me it helps seeing people who look like me, not fall into, okay, you talk bad about the church. It's not talking bad, it's just using, like when you step out and you see it, you like, okay, this is common sense, this is crazy, and you just let people tell on themselves. There's a clip that I recorded from Contradiction, and he presented the question to these sisters outside of church, who means more to, or who sacrificed the most for
Yeah,
black people,
I remember
Jesus
that.
or Martin Luther King?
I
I,
remember
I
that.
think that's, or was it Malcolm X? And they were like Jesus.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, oh my gosh, did you really just say that? So yes, head over to Amazon Prime and check out Contradiction and Holy Hierarchy. You will not be disappointed.
Yep. Yep.
And another local brother, he sent me his work, Maurice Madu. This is Up From Religion, and it's a poetic memoir. And pretty much he tells his story of leaving religion and going to another religion, and coming out of that through poetry. I'm going to actually
Oh,
reach
that's
out to him.
awesome.
I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but I'm going to definitely reach out and see if I can also get him over here as well, because it's just a breath of fresh air to see that, you know, people who look like me are not crazy, because it's the first thing people say, you demonic,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've
or
gotten
you
all of that.
burning, or okay, over here, like I don't have like the perfect peace, like I didn't leave the church and walk into $1 trillion, but I'm not suffering. I'm not, the bad things that people wish on you. That's not happening. I found a greater community. It has really developed my personality, and I've really grown as a woman, and it's just a great thing. I have my own peace, and I can be a better asset and resource to my people than just selling fear tactics. Now, one thing, real quick thing, like I say this, the business of ministry. Okay, I have a video here on my channel where I talk to y'all about how to become an ordained minister and officiate weddings. Okay, that's one thing that I'm glad that you mentioned when you and your wife got married, because there are people who don't want the Bible and the requirements. Well, if you're not of this church, I can't marry you, or if you're not of this belief system, I can't marry you. There is a need of free thinkers and people who are away from religion to perform weddings, perform marriages. Okay, put um do officiate funerals. Trying to find the words. Officiate funerals. Different rituals. Okay. So if this is you and you want to do that, check out the video I have here on my channel. Just type in Tieesha wedding officiant or Tieesha wedding in the search box, and it'll come up. Become an ordained minister. Okay. Also, too, right now the cost of living is going up, so more people gonna have to get together. So I come on, y'all. Let's do this. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Thank me later.
Yeah. I think that is, yeah. If for those of you who that's your thing, do it. Ironically, when we first got engaged, we attended a large church here in Atlanta. That was
Mm-hmm.
the minister was white, older gentleman. He's since retired, but
Mm-hmm.
we had been going to the church for about 3 years. Um, they told us that they couldn't marry us because we had both had been married previously,
Mm.
and we just kind of, my wife just lost it. She's like, wait a minute, and then we got home. It's like, well, but you guys didn't ask us that when you were taking our money, our tithes
Mm-hmm.
every week. Well, this was obviously, it was years ago. We've been married tomorrow. We've been married Friday 16 years. But yeah, so thank you. So you mentioned that, and then I just think about it. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. So there are people who, churches that won't marry you because you're not part of the church, or you've been divorced before, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. So absolutely. So those of you who want to officiate weddings, secular weddings or funerals, hey, go for it. We need more and more out there. Because I think what happens for those people, a lot of those people end up going to the courthouse, or they'll do maybe a destination wedding, or they'll go to Vegas
Yep.
and do the whole Vegas thing. Uh, so what is this a question for those who are at the beginning of their journey away from religion? Get a book called the Parallel Sayings of Jesus, La Tazai, Krishna. The book is very well put together. Good suggestion. Good suggestion. Yeah, when you go into Papa Soul Searcher, when you go into uh, when you start doing your research and you're looking when you mention Krishna, you look at there's at least 16 prior Jesus type characters in religions that are uh, hundreds of years older than Christianity. And a lot of the similarities are there. And I've even brought this up to Christians, and I've got every answer from God knew this was going to happen, so he had them to do this, 2,000 years prior, or we don't believe that, or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is that very little in the Bible is original. A lot of it, and most of it, is taken, stolen from other religions, including the Jesus story, the resurrection story, the creation story, the great flood, all of that stuff. A lot of that stuff is taken and stolen from other faiths as well. So when you talk about Krishna, he's one of the 16 or 20 other pre-Jesus Christ type characters that, same birthday, same resurrected, they died the same way. They were of God and human, parents of God and human. I mean, a lot of stuff. When you look at that from the outside, it's hard to continue to be a believer if you really look at it objectively. Now you can do it if you look at it with emotion and but if you look at it objectively with an open mind, it's really hard to continue to be. But the problem is that most Christians don't study and don't research anything outside of the Bible, and they barely know the Bible, if that.
I just left a link in the chat for you to go check out my video, okay, on becoming an ordained minister. Tongue twisters, but yeah, you're definitely needed because hey, people, that's how I built my whole business. I did not keep a secret that hey, I am not in religion, but hey, if you want a religious ceremony, I respect that and I can do that, and that's the best,
Good
like there
deal.
is a new culture, there is a new generation, and there's many different requirements, requests, and just be like I said, religious tolerance. And I found that once I left religion, I was able to do that genuinely.
Good for you, Papa Soul Searcher. You came out. Can't like to borrow that term. February
Happy
2017,
anniversary.
doing Black History Month. Perfect time.
Happy
Perfect time to
anniversary.
come from up under that spell. Happy
Hey,
anniversary, brother.
Kareem. He says, I used to get called the devil for pointing out the contradictions of the Bible. That's it, because you get people in their emotions. They have no logic or facts to come back at you.
And they get defensive, bro. I get called that almost on a daily basis because I do a lot of debates and dialogues on social media with people who put up these crazy posts and stuff, and I'll come in and say, well, that's not really correct, and we'll go back and forth. But I've been called the devil so many times, or you doing the devil's work, or the devil's using you, or you leading people the wrong way. So yeah, it's but like Tieesha said, that's based on emotion. When they can't argue logic and facts with you, then they become defensive and it becomes about emotion. Oh, there you go. Zoroaster, there you go. I tell people, I said, please study the origins of Judaism,
Yep.
which is where Christianity came from. Study the origins of Judaism, and you will find this
Thank you,
religion
hypnotist.
here. Yeah, hypnotist. Thank you. You hit it right on. You hit it right on. A lot of the things that's practiced in Judaism and Christianity came from them, and that's a Persian religion.
Wow.
So, yep.
We have parables, and then Papa Soul Searcher treat. No, I'm not even gonna read it. I have tongue switches going on right now.
So he said, teach, bruh. I got the same thing. That moment when I woke up, in an instant, I knew I was about to lose my wife. Oh my God, my wife, family, and friends. It's been tough for 5 years on this month, bro. Last
Mm,
week I told the story to Tieesha kind of toward the end,
check it
and I
out.
said the biggest concern that I had about the book and coming out was um, was how my wife would view me.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I have the greatest wife in the world. First of all, we both kind of decided at the same time that religion was not our thing. But once you decide that religion is not your thing, there's another level. There's levels to this thing, as people say. So it,
Yeah.
it was it was not only that, it was like to her, I had to tell her, listen, I don't really believe in anything. And I don't, I said, you can seek out whatever it is, but my wife she was like, listen, you on your own journey, I'm on my own journey, we good. And like I tell people all the time, I said, some of the stuff I come up with, she give me some of that stuff. She sitting in the
Hmm.
background, and people think that I feel so sorry for his wife. She must be no,
Hmm.
she be giving me some of the stuff to post and to talk about. So yeah, but I hate to see, and I'm part of forums where people have come out of religion, and some of the stories are
Hmm.
just incredibly horrid. Then they
Hmm.
lose their family, they lose spouse, they haven't spoken to siblings and parents in 20, 25 years. I mean, it's crazy, but this is what religion would do to you. I heard from a guy on one of the forums, and he was gay and he was a non-believer, and they asked him,
Hmm.
they said, which was harder, coming out as gay or coming out as a non-believer?
Hmm.
And he said, by far, coming out as a non-believer.
Absolutely.
Coming out. Papa Soul Surgeon, absolutely right. Zora did predate Christianity. Again, that's where Judaism got a lot of its practices and practices and beliefs from. And so Christianity did the same. So absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, so for the person who talked about losing, it's been hard for 5 years and losing family and friends. Um, I um, I feel you. My mother and I had always been close. We never really argued about anything. I told her probably a year before she passed that I no longer believe. That's the way I put it. I said, I no longer believe the
Hmm.
way you believe. And she didn't say anything to me, but she said some really horrible things to my sister um,
Hmm.
about me and my wife, and it really hurt me. It hurt me, and it didn't hurt me. Because I knew that not only was she devout, I also knew that she was uh, how to put this. I also knew that she didn't know a lot outside of the
Hmm.
Bible. And this was her, this is what kept her going. I was fine with that. So I didn't really get butt hurt like that. I was just kind of like, my wife was like, oh no, your mom, no. This. So when your mother tell you that she hoped that your business fail and y'all are
Hmm.
saved and y'all are the
Wow.
antichrist and y'all not gonna be successful anymore and all this until y'all come back to Jesus, that stuff is hurting. That you the antichrist and you gonna burn in hell, all this other kind of stuff. All that stuff is hurting. So for her last year of her life, um, I try to keep it cordial, and I was there for
Hmm.
her. But I know in her mind she didn't see me as the same. She thought that I had
Wow.
changed a lot. My sister's still a Christian. We joke and laugh about it. We're really close. I tell her one day, I say, you're gonna come out of that stuff one day, but she's still strong in it. But yeah, but friends,
I
like I said, I've
think.
lost friends
Mhm.
too. Go ahead.
I think this would be a great topic for next week. I left religion and lost my family and friends, or
Yeah,
something to that aspect, and we can really dive in on that and showcase, you know, that your own flesh and blood will, separate themselves from you, disown you for their personification, their
yep,
belief system. That's just, I think when you put it in those terms and look at it that way, it really burns. It burns real bad. So I think this would be a great segue to next week. And then the call to action, check out um Contradiction on Amazon, and also Holy Hierarchy by Brother Jeremiah Kamar. But most importantly, if you enjoy this conversation tonight, if you enjoy, our brother Willie Cartwright here, please head over to Amazon and pick up his book. Brother Willie, I can sing your praises all day, but if you can, to those who are new, can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, where they can find more content from you and engage with you until the next live stream.
So, first of all, before I do any of that, let me
Uh-huh.
say thank you to you, Tieesha. Absolutely. Those who are listening, please, if you're not supporting this sister, please support her. Go to her channel. She's doing some amazing things. She has a business. Support her from that standpoint. Support her any way you can because we need people like her. I wouldn't be here without her reaching out to me, without me finding her finding me. So I'm extremely appreciative of that. But again, Willie Cartwright, my book, From Saved to Sane, My Journey Away from Christianity and Why Christianity Has Been Detrimental to the African American Community. I know it's a long title, but if you go on Amazon, you can find it under my name, Willie O. Cartwright, or From Saved to Sane, you can find it. On YouTube, I have a TikTok channel and I can't even, God, I got to get it right. It might be just Willie Cartwright, but I'll have all that information. I apologize. My wife kind of runs all of that for me. But yeah, but you can find me, Willie. I think it's Willie. I'm sorry, Willie Cartwright 1906. I think on TikTok and Instagram. So you can see some of my memes and some of the discussions that I have with people on Facebook. If you just want to share comedy, because I post a lot of memes on there, and I get what I get the old generation Christians coming at me on Facebook because my generation is still on Facebook, even though I do TikTok and I do Twitter and I do Instagram. A lot of them are just still on Facebook. So if you want to see a lot of discussions, you want to see a lot of Christians that are butt hurt and feelings are hurt and emotional. On Facebook, I am WC O'Neal, Oneal, WC and then O'Neal, Oneal, and kind of follow some of that stuff. And if you want to laugh or cry, it's good for that. But yeah, this is great. This has been great. Like next week we'll have a different topic. But I encourage you guys to invite your friends, come with questions or comments or whatever. It really helps us. We learn as well. So we learned something today. We learned a lot, but we learned something today. So we learn something every week. So this has been great, Tieesha. So there it is. There we are. That's me on Facebook. That's my lovely wife. I don't know where we were. Might have been in Peru. I think we were in Peru when we took that picture. So those of you I do post social issues too. That's probably talking about what's going on with the NFL. I post a lot of pro-black stuff, not anti-white, but pro-black. I love my people. I'm one of those people that they tell you not to talk about sex, religion, and politics. I talk about a lot of politics. I talk about a lot of religion. So yeah. Um, yeah, and then you'll see some of my business. My wife and I, we own a hair care product line. That's secondary to this. But so you will see some of those pictures. You'll see me marketing or advertising our stuff. You'll usually see my wife doing a video on that too. So we do have a hair care product line as well. But yeah, this is fantastic. I love this. Tieesha, awesome. What was the last? Tieesha, are you? I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I muted myself. Shout out
Oh,
to brother Jermaine Lewis. I think this is a great question to end on.
yeah, it is.
A
Yeah.
lighter note, and definitely set the stage for next week. And we will see y'all again next week, Wednesday at 5 p.m. here on Tieesha Essex channel. We may even do like a dual streaming on your channel as well, so I can get some of
Okay.
y'all familiar with going up to Save to Sane here on
Appreciate
YouTube.
that. Appreciate
But
that.
yes, brother Willie, what was the last straw to make you leave Pastor Pork Chop Church?
Yeah. Also, okay, before I ask that question,
Uh-huh.
I got to remember this stuff. My YouTube channel, From Save to
Yes.
Sane.
Yes. Let me go pull that up real quick.
Yeah. Follow me there. Subscribe. Please follow me there. And we're gonna upload these last two videos we did eventually when I figure out how to we get them on there. But we'll
We
get them on
got it.
there. So what was the last straw to make you leave Pastor Pork Chop's church? Ironically, the last church I was a part of was this TV pastor. You've seen him, white gentleman up in Gainesville, Georgia. We were a part of his church for many years, 7, 8 years. And so we left, we actually was really about leaving the church before we were about leaving Christianity, because that church, what made us leave was that he really was like pro Donald Trump. I mean, he was just like pro Donald Trump, pro conservative, pro white, and a lot of that to me. And for the record, I'm an independent because I don't think that African Americans should all be committed to one party per se, unless they're gonna do something for us. But I just had a whole problem with Donald Trump, not necessarily, but more so on if you a pastor and you align yourself with this type of person, then that says something about you as a pastor. So we had a problem with that. So we left that church because of that. And then when we tried to go back, we went to a local church, black church down the street. They reeled us in because the first time we went, he was talking about like black empowerment stuff. And my wife and I was like, yo, he gets it. Yo, black empowerment stuff, we good, we're here. Maybe we'll do this. And the next Sunday and the next Sunday and the next Sunday, it was back to the same old stuff that we just couldn't take. So it was that, and then it was finally realizing that all of this stuff is a charade, that none of this stuff is real, that there's not enough proof and evidence of the biblical God or Jesus, that heaven and hell don't exist, at least the biblical version of it doesn't exist. And I just did not want to continue to live my life like that. And I wanted to be honest to myself, and I wanted to live my life honest to myself. That's it for me. That was me.
Oh my goodness. Mine is on one of my most popular videos on this channel, why I left Christianity in the church. And ironically, here in February, there's an event that's going to come up in plenty of churches, and I believe on like BT as well, like Saints and Super Bowl and something like that. So that's when it was like, okay, be of the world but not in it. But it was like, okay, religion and Christianity is really like some copycats. It's like, okay, you can do this as long as there's a Jesus version of it. There was a video on Instagram, I shared it, and it was like oh, I forgot. I have to find it. It will be so hilarious. But it was like, toot it up for Jesus. And I'm like, oh my God. Or twerk it up. It was just too funny. It's like, okay, as long as I throw a Jesus in there, then it's okay. It kind of reminded me of the Apollo. As long as you sang a gospel song, you wouldn't get booed. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's a long story, and I think that I should really do an update to that video. So that may be in the works. But it's been great. It's been great being here tonight and just unloading all of this, but also, being around other like minds and being in a space where we can say this, and we don't have somebody over here like, come on back, y'all. And as we see, I've tried to, especially with your book. Okay, I am a book hoarder, but I promise you, all you really need, I won't say all you really need is one book, because I'll tell you this sound like the other people. But if you want a good start, your book is thoroughly researched and documented. So if you want more resources on where to go, where to find something to support this thought, because once you leave religion stuff, you're coming with facts. Your feelings, are just, I'm not saying you become numb, but you're more forward thinking, logical. You apply fact and things that you can see and prove and all that good stuff. So yes, I'm excited to see everybody back next week, where we will pretty much talk about, I left religion and lost my family. I would try to work out and get like a call-in phone number, pretty much like if I already know you have my number, you just call me up. But I do have a link. It is in the comments for you to link in. You don't have to turn on your video, but you can chat with us that way. But I'll work on getting us a call-in number so we can take your calls and really, create this platform and do great things. Brother Willie, do you have any final comments and words?
No, I'm just thankful. Thank you to everybody who called in, who sent us comments, who participated, who had questions, who listened in, and everything. Just really thankful for that. We, like Tieesha said, we create this space for people like us who, everything from I got a question that I can't get answered to I'm a full-fledged non-believer, atheist, whatever. We're trying to create a space, especially for people that look like us, because especially here in the South, but in this country as a whole. We're in the minority, but there is a lot of more people who think like us that are out there that just don't know how to connect to like-minded people. And so we're hoping to create this space. I'm thankful to Tieesha for having this and having me on here. But we wanted to create this space so that you guys can come, you can vent, you can ask questions. We don't know all the answers. We give you the benefit of our experience and our knowledge, and direct you to some great books and some great people that we've used in our journey. But let's keep this thing going. Let's create this space. Invite people to it. Let this be a safe space for people who are trying to get on their own journey. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. In the meantime, if you want to go also and check out something, if you're looking for like I'll say a church, but a spiritual gathering where you want more talk like this with a great man. I did a video last year for Black History Month with Dr. Ahmad Yakim, or known as Dr. Neil Jackson, author of the book Condemnation of the Goddamn. Okay, it's right there. Check out that interview and listen to how you've never heard a preacher, a pastor talk like this. Okay, go check out that video. Actually, I may go ahead and watch it after this, and I'll extend an invite to him to come back, because you've never heard a pastor preach like this. All right, that's all I have for y'all. I thank you for joining us, and catch up with me on social media. Like, subscribe, leave comments. This was the only way that we knew that you wanted more content like this. So I need that feedback, and we will definitely bring back more content that you want. Okay, like I said, connect with me on social media, and also like, subscribe, share, and I will see you on the next video. Y'all have a great day and stay safe.